My name is Andrea Trujillo, and I am a senior certifying in EC through 6. The objective of my presentation is to provide a brief history of my math career in kindergarten through 12th grade. As I thought about the math instruction I have received over the years and the impact it has had on me, I would say a metaphor to describe my math history throughout school is a bridge. To quickly summarize what I mean, my math history could be described as a bridge because the starting and ending points of my math education were strong, solid foundations to my math history, much like the solid starting and ending points on a bridge. However, the middle part of my math education was shaky and less structured, much like the middle part of a bridge. I will further explain this metaphor as the presentation continues. The first stage of my math history is elementary school, from kindergarten to 6th grade. In elementary school, I was always at the top of my class when it came to math. For the most part, math concepts were easy for me to grasp, making math instruction fun and engaging for me. I remember using manipulatives such as counting blocks, shapes, and other manipulatives to deepen my understanding of mathematical concepts. I was able to construct my own knowledge of the mathematical concepts through the manipulatives and interaction with my peers. My elementary math teachers did a good job of teaching math at a conceptual level first, and then moving into the procedural stage of math. In the latter elementary years, I remember multiplication being one of my favorite parts about math. I could memorize multiplication facts all day. Overall, the math education I received in kindergarten through 6th grade was excellent, in that I had a strong conceptual and procedural understanding of math processes. This is where the bridge metaphor ties in. My elementary years are related to the starting point of a bridge. The starting point of a bridge is strong, and it is a solid foundation that keeps the bridge from collapsing. The math education I received in elementary school was a solid foundation to start off my math career. This brings me to the next stage in my math history, grade 7 and 8th grade, also known as middle school. In middle school, I reached the figurative middle of the bridge where the ground was not solid and I was afraid to fall. The math instruction I was receiving declined. Since I was strong in math during my elementary years, I decided to take on the challenge of pre-AP classes, such as pre-AP algebra in 7th grade. This turned out to be detrimental to my math education. Part of the reason was because I was not ready to take on 2 math levels in 1 year, but I also did not have a teacher who taught the conceptual understanding of math. She would go straight into the procedural steps. She skipped over the conceptual part of the math process because she was teaching a class full of advanced math students. But in reality, we all need to be taught on a concrete level before we move on to the more abstract concepts. I struggled with math in 7th and 8th grade, and it lowered my self-esteem. All these years I had been excellent at math, and now I felt incapable of learning even the simplest concepts of algebra. I started to get a negative feeling toward math, my teacher, and my peers. As I stated previously, this is the part of the metaphor where I am standing on the middle of the bridge that is unstable and insecure. I did not have a solid math foundation to stand on in my middle school years. In the last stage of my math history, the high school years, I was able to regain confidence in my mathematical abilities and finish strong. I had great math teachers throughout high school that helped me get back on track and really understand the math concepts and processes I was learning. I was back on solid ground. I was now standing on the opposite end of the bridge, grounded and rooted on a solid foundation of mathematical knowledge. To recap, the bridge metaphor as it pertains to my math history. Elementary school was the part of my math history where I was on solid ground. I was confident and excelling in my mathematical abilities. During my middle school years, I entered the unstable part of the bridge because my math instruction suffered. However, without going through the unstable and sometimes scary part of the bridge, I would have never made it to the other side where I could once again stand on solid ground. Now that I have crossed the bridge, I have a deepened understanding of the conceptual and procedural elements of math, and I am able to explain my processes very well. In my future practice, my students will know the conceptual and procedural stages of math. Therefore, being able to develop a strategy to develop the problem and in turn reflect and explain their work Math is not a wrong or right answer, but a conceptual, procedural, and strategic process that takes place. My goal is to instill a confidence in my students that won't be tainted by formulas or equations. Math will be tied to real-world experiences and have an authentic purpose in my classroom. Math won't be an in-the-box practice, but an integrated process in daily living.